Picture taking on the reigning three-time world champion in a corner and pulling this off.
Is this guy fucking blind? What the hell is wrong with him?
If he was able to do this to Max Verstappen in a simple practice, imagine what he's capable of doing in an actual race. That's why we're going to go over the 10 controversies that make everyone hate Lance Stroll. Last time, he deliberately endangered a 7-time world champion. At the 2017 Malaysian Grand Prix, Lance Stroll was involved in one of the most ridiculous incidents ever seen. While the drivers were completing the cool-down lap after the race, Sebastian Vettel tried to overtake Stroll on the outside, but the Canadian turned into the 4-time world champion's car without looking, and the following happened. Is it possible? Stroll isn't looking where he's going. He completely crashed into my car. Despite causing one of the most absurd accidents when the race was already over, Lance Stroll did not take any responsibility, showing a behavior that would be repeated constantly throughout his career. Vettel's car was destroyed after the incident, and the German had to be picked up by Pascal Berlin's Sauber, creating a rather unusual and comical moment for the audience. However, during the incident and in the post-race interview, Vettel set aside humor and openly showed his annoyance about what happened. Surprisingly, Stroll received no penalty, making this just the first incident with his future teammate. During the 2018 Canadian Grand Prix, Lance Stroll caused a terrible accident on the first lap of the race. After a pretty even and contested start with Brendan Hartley, the local driver lost control of his car, and this is what happened next. When reviewing the incident, you can see how Hartley tried to overtake in a very tight space, and Stroll, despite counter-steering at high speed to try to correct his mistake, did not slow down. This made him lose control of the car, leaving no space for the Toro Rosso driver and causing a major crash that forced both to retire from the Grand Prix. In his post-race interview, Stroll not only did not accept responsibility, but also responded in a completely apathetic and uninterested manner. Once again, Lance Stroll was not penalized for the incident, as it was considered that there was no intent and that it was a racing incident. However, this was the only accident on the list because all the ones that follow are carelessness, arrogance, and irresponsibility, typical actions that define Lance Stroll. In the second free practice of the 2020 Portuguese Grand Prix, Lance Stroll seemed to forget his car had mirrors. The Canadian had just completed a fast lap and decided to start another one without slowing down. At the same time, Max Verstappen was starting his timed lap at a similar pace. When they reached turn 1, Stroll was on the racing line and Max tried to overtake him on the inside. However, the Canadian didn't see Verstappen, closed in on the corner as if no one else was there, and the following happened. As you can imagine, Max didn't take it well.
Is this fucking guy blind? What the hell is his problem? Jesus Christ, what an idiot!
Stroll got stuck in the gravel, which caused a red flag. On his side, Verstappen was able to continue after stopping in the pits to repair his car. The action was considered a racing incident. However, when watching Stroll's onboard camera, you can see that he didn't even look at his mirrors and turned as if he was alone on the track. And not only that, but Stroll himself admitted it in his post-session interview.
He was busy looking at some things on the dashboard on the main straight. And once I looked up, I was focused on the corner and I didn't expect anyone to be next to me.
The incredible thing is that even after admitting he wasn't paying attention, he then tried to avoid responsibility.
I don't think he expected me to be at the second corner, so unfortunately...
The 2021 Russian Grand Prix was one of the worst for Stroll, because in the span of 2 laps, he made mistake after mistake after mistake. A few years after the incident in Malaysia, Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel became teammates, and you would never crash into your teammate, right? During lap 48, with the rain falling more and more heavily, Vettel tried to overtake his teammate on the outside. Stroll, in a sudden and irresponsible attempt to defend his position, closed in, and the following happened. He forced Vettel off the track.
He forced Vettel off the track, huh?
Yes, look, there's Stroll with Vettel. Their tires touched.
After being hit by his teammate and almost crashing into the wall, Vettel reacted completely differently than he did in Malaysia. Because, of course, now the team owner was Lawrence Stroll, Lance's father. But we'll get back to his reaction later. For his part, Stroll, after the crash that left both cars damaged, only managed to say the following.
It's very wet.
He ignored the incident and, as expected, didn't take any responsibility. But that wasn't all. 1 lap later, after going off the track several times, he had one of his most memorable moments in Formula One.
Can you stay out in these conditions? Can you stay out?
Yes.
If you thought his timing was perfect, subscribe. However, the controversies didn't end there. After crashing into the barriers, Stroll returned to the track in an unsafe manner, and in the first corner, after coming back, he threw his car at Pierre Gasly, hitting him and causing the Frenchman to spin, ruining his race. Gasly's reaction was as follows.
That was fucking unfair.
The worst part is that, besides being dangerous, the maneuver was unnecessary since the AlphaTauri driver overtook him on the next straight. As a result, Stroll was penalized with 10 seconds and 2 points on his super license. At the end of the race, Vettel showed a completely different reaction than he did in Malaysia.
It was a misunderstanding. I'm not sure. I don't think he saw me. Maybe he wasn't expecting me either, but fortunately nothing happened.
And to no one's surprise, when Stroll was asked about the incidents, he basically ignored the question. What was going on?
What's going on? Because we saw contact with Sebastian, contact with Pierre.
Yeah, it was complicated. It's a shame we didn't score points today.
He didn't take any responsibility, something that would become common throughout his career. During the qualifying session of the 2022 Australian Grand Prix, Nicholas Latifi was on a preparation lap when he tried to overtake Lance Stroll. However, Stroll abruptly moved to the right without checking his mirrors, and the following happened. After being hit and taken out of qualifying by Stroll, the Williams driver, quite confused, said the following.
I didn't understand anything he was doing.
Are you okay?
He wasn't looking at his mirrors.
After causing an accident that was clearly his fault, you would expect the Aston Martin driver to stay quiet, but the exact opposite happened.
Latifi, what the an is he doing? He just unhit me.
Not only did he not take responsibility for the accident, just like in previous occasions, but he blamed Latifi and even insulted him, even though it was Stroll who turned into him and crashed in a dangerous and irresponsible way. The incident resulted in a red flag that interrupted the session and left both drivers out of it. Later, during the post-qualifying interviews, both drivers, now calmer and having seen the replay of the incident, gave their opinions. For his part, Latifi maintained his position. As for Stroll, as you can probably imagine at this point in the video, he made excuses and didn't take responsibility.
I was very young and I really misjudged the timing, so...
However, the penalty for Stroll, with 3 grid positions and 2 points on his super license, proved the Williams driver right. During lap 22 of the 2022 United States Grand Prix, after the safety car was withdrawn, Fernando Alonso tried to overtake Lance Stroll. However, the Canadian defended his position by changing his line very late and dangerously. Then this happened.
Now, Alonso, very good, huh?
What a crash! A car flew through the air there. Fernando Alonso, a crash with an Aston Martin.
Stroll had to retire from the race, while Alonso, after going airborne, gave this message confirming that he was okay, but also emphasizing Stroll's dangerous move.
Are you okay?
Yes, my friend. Very late maneuver.
After this, the Spaniard was forced to pit to change tires and repair the car, dropping from 8th to 17th place, thus ruining his race. No, Alonso recovered and finished 7th, even improving his position from before the incident. At the finish line, he was greeted by Tim Cook with the most exciting final flag in history. Then, during his post-race interview, he said something you won't believe.
I left enough space on the left, but he still got really close to me. Yes, we made contact.
From what we've seen so far, it's clear that Stroll wasn't going to take responsibility, but it's really incredible that he blamed Alonso. The steward sided against the Canadian, giving him a 3-place grid penalty for the next race for causing the collision. A few months later, in the 2023 season, Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso became teammates at Aston Martin. So this kind of incident wouldn't happen again, right? At the 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix, Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso were already teammates. And as I mentioned, they shouldn't have had another incident. Like with Sebastian Vettel, Stroll wasn't interested. And on the first lap of their first race together, he braked too late when Alonso had already taken the corner. And this happened.
And this is Stroll, look. Also,
it's important to mention that Lance Stroll, in a completely irresponsible way, broke both his wrists while riding a bicycle during the preseason. Because of this, he had trouble turning the steering wheel, which prevented him from correcting his mistake and avoiding the collision. Going back to the incident, Fernando, without knowing who had hit him,
Said the following. I've been hit like that, so look.
due to the contact, Alonso lost 2 positions. But just like in COTA 2022, he managed to come back and this time reached the 3rd step of the podium. After the race, while Alonso was giving an interview, Stroll interrupted him to say, he hit him on the first lap, nearly ruining his race, and also interrupted his interview to make those comments on camera. He ended up looking like a spoiled child, especially since he's only there because his father owns the team. And speaking of spoiled, the next controversy goes beyond all limits of arrogance. But before that, if you're enjoying the video, subscribe. Being arrogant is one thing, but acting like a spoiled child when things don't go your way is another. During the qualifying for the 2023 Qatar Grand Prix, the Aston Martin cars looked quite competitive and definitely had the pace. To reach Q3, Fernando Alonso comfortably made it through Q1 in 3rd place. But after a disastrous lap, Lance Stroll only managed 17th place, getting eliminated in Q1 for the 4th race in a row.
they're lowering Stroll's Mandela too. Right, 17th, Stroll stayed in the elimination zone.
Despite his disastrous performance, the really serious thing happened after the session. First, when he was getting out of the car, Lance Stroll threw his steering wheel, which is worth about 50,000 euros. And not only that, but he didn't care where it landed and almost hit one of the engineers who was just doing his job. Secondly, when Stroll had already gotten out of the car, his personal trainer approached him to remind him that he had to go get weighed, because otherwise he would be penalized. Even though he was just doing his job, Stroll pushed him violently, furious about a result that he himself had caused. Incredibly, that wasn't all. Thirdly, you have to watch Stroll's interview after qualifying.
What's not clicking for you behind the wheel right now? I don't know. Are you going to do it in the sprint? Yes.
He didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge what happened, didn't show any remorse, nothing. With this, he just reaffirmed his spoiled child attitude. Worst of all, no one on the team spoke up since his father owns the team. However, there was someone who didn't stay silent in the face of his actions. At the 2024 Chinese Grand Prix, the safety car had been deployed when Lance Stroll, because he was distracted, ridiculously crashed into the back of Daniel Ricciardo's car, ruining the Australian's race, who had been performing promisingly.
In Stroll's car. Stroll hit him there too.
But that wasn't all, because after the crash, Stroll insulted him. even though he was the one who caused the accident. Stroll? Due to the incident, Stroll was informed over the radio that he had received a 10-second penalty, to which he responded as follows.
That's a seconds penalty. Unbelievable. What a joke. No.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how he hit him.
As you heard, not even the commentators could believe his reaction. And you would think that after watching the replay, Stroll would admit his mistake and apologize to Ricciardo, right? In his post-Grand Prix interview, his attitude was even worse. He proved he hasn't learned from his many past incidents, because despite having ruined the Australians' race, Stroll blamed him and took no responsibility, once again showing indifference and arrogance.
Someone stopped in front, and I think everyone stopped. And the race in front of me stopped right in front of me. I didn't know where to go.
When he heard about Stroll's comments during his interview, Ricciardo couldn't hide his fury.
I now realized he was blaming me, and I was beginning to calm down. But that really blamed me because I saw that he was on board, and as soon as we started to stop, he started looking at the corner. He's not paying attention to me, but during a restart, you need to focus on the race ahead.
Stroll's onboard camera made it clear that he was distracted, looking toward the corner and not at the car in front of him. Still, his arrogance prevented him from taking the blame. And, to make matters worse, in addition to the 10-second penalty, he was also given 2 penalty points on his super license. In the third free practice session of the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix, Lance Stroll went beyond all limits of irresponsibility, immaturity, and recklessness. While he was on a fast lap, the Canadian was blocked by Lewis Hamilton, who immediately apologized, raising his hand and accepting the blame over the radio.
Thank you for watching the video.
However, the apologies didn't matter to Stroll, who moved out excessively and intentionally pushed Hamilton, putting him in danger and causing a collision between the two.
No, he doesn't move aside, acknowledging that he's going slow.
He wants to move over too late.
As a result,
The Canadian got the worst of it, as he ended up with damage to the floor of his car. And not only did he risk his car unnecessarily, childishly, and irresponsibly, but he never admits his own mistakes. But when another driver makes a mistake, Stroll makes the most reckless decision and crashes into him. But Lance Stroll isn't the only driver with a controversial history. Esteban Ocon, known for crashing into his teammates, is another driver who is hated by everyone. So watch this video and learn about their controversies.